Noodles and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 4, up on YouTube Live. Brian Hayes, Keegan Matheson, Kara Wagland in studio today. How's everyone doing?
Well, Hazy.
I already messed up my mic, so it's...
What happened? What are you doing?
Every time... Well, there's gaps between when I come in here, and every time I forget... Is red mean I'm live, or does green mean I'm live?
Red is on.
But red means stop, and it messes with my head every single time I'm in here, and I just can't get it through my skull.
You want JP to run the operation?
No, I don't, because I also don't trust anyone.
I know.
So I want to run my own
problem.
thing.
I respect it.
But Keegan, I kid you not, every single time I do the show, I have a moment of panic where I'm like, am I live? Am I not live? Do I need to turn my mic on?
You're on. It's got to be red. As long as it's red,
I figured it out. We got there.
Keegan, you have faith in JP. You allow him to basically run the whole operation.
You let them run your mic for you?
Everyone, absolutely. You know what? I took control actually yesterday. I graduated to adulthood here at TSN. I now control my own buttons. We almost had a miss at the end, you know, but I don't think I screwed it up too much yesterday.
No, you got it.
I've
You nailed
simplified myself, but I'm worried about it. I'm worried about it.
Yeah.
We're in certain control of the starship.
You do the show long enough, you need to be able to control your own stuff.
It's like driving a stick shift.
Yeah, exactly. Like at some point, you just never know when you're going to need to turn it off for whatever particular reason. But anyway, good to see you guys and tracking the Jays. They might actually find a way to win a series here, which is very exciting. After yesterday, we spent the whole day talking about Shane Bieber and his possible trade value. Ooh. And if he had a great start last night, he was going to garner serious attention around the league. And then, of course, he doesn't even get out of the first inning.
It didn't go that way.
It did not go. It went the complete opposite way of positive.
The strangest I've seen all year. Like, this is a strange year. That was the strangest inning of baseball I've seen. If Trey Savage does that, okay. He throws the baseball very hard. If Dylan Cease does that, he throws real hard. Sometimes you start to spray it. This is the control artist.
Yeah.
And suddenly he had no idea where it was going. I know John Schneider told media down there in Washington that it was humid, the ball was sweaty and slipping out. I guess Washington had drier hands. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Late start. Maybe you grant him that. I don't know.
I love all the people online who are like, this is how badly Shane Bieber wants to be in Toronto.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is, right? That was a big part of it when he opted in. It wasn't because his arm was falling off. It was because the clubhouse was so much fun. Staff, I don't know what it would represent this year. I don't think it would hurt. But he's been gone. He's in Philly. He's obviously their GM or their manager now, and they've really turned it around ever since he got in there. So we'll play some audio that is causing a bit of a stir. That's coming up a little bit later on. But we got Dan Patrick coming up in about an hour. Mike Johnson willing to join us today because we've got a new bar
From the cottage?
set in the NHL. I would assume that's where he is. Macklin Celebrini signs a 5-year, $18.8 million deal.
Huge.
So now we have, think about how the bar has just moved and moved and moved. Obviously, Leo Carlsson, that was significant. Bedard was not going to be the highest paid player in the league. But Kaprizov a year ago moved it up. And then Carlsson went above him. And now Celebrini's going above that. And, it makes you wonder what McDavid's going to look like in 2 years and what Makar and Quinn Hughes could sign for. But this makes a lot of sense for both parties, in my opinion, because Celebrini, I think I'm in the majority here. I can't imagine there's any pushback on this. That's the next wave of great players, right? He's likely going to be the guy that the baton gets passed to by McDavid. I don't know when that's going to happen. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's 2, 3, 5 years down the road. It's going to happen, though, at some point, based on how good he is. He's better than Leo Carlsson. He's better than Connor Bedard, and his deal kicks in next year, so the cap will be even higher. I think if you're San Jose, what probably rattles your cage a little bit when you consider Carlsson and Bedard is that they have established this new 5-year term limit, which walks players right to free agency.
Yep.
Where if you can recall, when McDavid signed his deal, it was an 8-year deal. And you look back, it makes me look back on the McDavid deal, like the first one he signed out of entry level, as just a grand slam for Edmonton. He set a new bar, was the highest paid player in the league immediately. I think prior to that, might have been John Tavares had the highest cap hit or real close to it, or a couple guys at $11 million. and he jumped to 12.5. But the fact that McDavid gave them an 8-year deal at that price, it was so fortunate. And Celebrini's not rolling that way.
No, there's so much power in the players' hands now.
Big
this
time.
is an exciting time to be a top-end player in the NHL, man. Like, I feel like we're getting into that mode you see in the NFL where every left guard who signs a deal, they're now the highest-paid left guard. You've never heard of them.
Yep.
This is the highest-paid D tackle. Like we saw it with defensemen, with Byram and the deal that he signed. But as the bar gets raised every single time, it's not just for young guys. We'll see it with more veteran guys like Jason Robertson coming up again soon. Every pocket, every age is going to have their deal to reach for, man. And then we're going to start having conversations of, can you fit 2 of these on the same roster? Can you go big with that? And the number of players in the NHL, I think, starting to get up into these ranges is exciting, guys. This movement, this big transaction headlines are what drag me in, man.
It's so good.
It's good.
Great.
I found it interesting, though, because I was looking up when Crosby, you mentioned when McDavid signed his first contract out of the entry level in Crosby, the percentage of the cap are actually really comparable. Like, I think Crosby was 17%, McDavid was just over 16%, and Macklin's 18%, so a little bit more. But with the cap moving and stuff, it's not that far off from what they signed out of their entry level deal as well.
Exactly. And that's what they should be. Like the from Crosby to McDavid to Celebrini, like that's kind of the lineage over the last 20 years of the best players in the league. And, you know, the limitations on how long you can sign for have changed as well. When Sid came up, you could have signed for, I think, as long as you wanted to, basically. I think Ovi did that. I want to say Ovechkin signed for like a 12 or 13-year contract. McDavid, obviously, the limit was 8, but Celebrini chose not to hit that. But what it does is just put pressure on the teams, San Jose, Chicago for Bedard, I guess Anaheim with Carlson, that, you don't have the luxury of 8 years. Like 5 years is an eternity in pro sports. And I think San Jose is building towards something there. I think next year they probably take another step. I wouldn't be shocked if they made the playoffs.
In 2 years, they get Connor McDavid?
In 2 years, maybe. Are you willing? Now you're talking. Is that what you're claiming, that Connor McDavid's going to go down there in 2 years?
More people aren't talking about this, because the first thing I thought about, and I think we've talked about this before, when they played in the Olympics together and you saw how much fun Connor McDavid was having playing with Macklin Celebrini, that was the first thing I thought about.
You connected
He is looking like he is having a great time.
They both you get a puppy and you've already got a dog. He was running around on fire, man.
Yeah. And
you go to a warm weather place.
I love it.
Smaller market. They're not going to care as much. They're not going to hammer you for being Connor McDavid. They're already a competitive team. They're going to make the playoffs this year. They're going to be really good in 2 years. Why wouldn't you?
You're calling your shot right off the bat.
If Edmonton does not progress, 100% he's got to get out of Edmonton.
Yeah, well, I think he will if they fall short.
Sure.
I think the Babcock hiring is an example of that. They are willing to try anything here, and he's committed for the next 2 years, and they're going to try to win. And they're in a window where I don't know if they're good enough or not.
Yes.
They're certainly not as good as they were 2 years ago. But and if they do win, then all bets are off. Does that open the door for him to leave, or does he all of a sudden say, hey, now we've proven we can win. Why would I leave? I want to win 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know. But, at the Olympics, it is a very good point to make, but they played on the same line. That's not going to happen. I can't imagine if they end up in San Jose. Why would you move one
for sure?
You're going to have both of them up the middle of the ice. But you referenced something there, which I hope doesn't fall in line with the thinking of McDavid if and when it gets to a point where maybe he wants to go somewhere else. I hope he doesn't consider media pressure, people leaving him alone. I hate.
How do you not consider it? Though?
I understand that that's why everyone's flocking to Florida and flocking to Vegas, because down there it's just there's not a rabid fan base like there is up here. There's not a media contingency like there is up here. It's way down the list of priorities. Just in terms of the community. Doesn't mean there's not fans. There's a lot of fans. But the reality is, if you're in South Florida or in Vegas or in California, they're talking football first, and then college football, maybe high school football before they even get to your team, let alone baseball, basketball, et cetera. You're just further down. But like McDavid made that comment the other day at Hyman's golf tournament about McKenna, and he's like, well, he's going to have his hands full in Toronto. And I don't know exactly what he meant by that, if he meant they weren't a very good team last year, if he meant the hype that comes with it.
There's many things that probably meant.
It could mean a lot of different things. And Connor's from Newmarket. He grew up a Leaf fan. He knows the market very well. He comes home immediately. A lot of guys who maybe look at playing for the Leafs, they don't live that way when they're in the city. Mitch Marner is an example of that. Mitch went to Vegas. He came home really quick. I know that for a fact.
Yep.
He got home quickly. And that's fine. He's entitled to that. Everyone goes home. But it wasn't like, I'm out of Toronto. I'm never coming back. I don't like it here. I don't like Muskoka and all that kind of stuff. Guys love living here and love, being here in the off season. But if it gets to a point where if you're McDavid and you decide I got to leave, I hope the only priority is what is going to give me the best opportunity to win.
For
and
sure.
If that's in Montreal, go to Montreal.
But
if it's in Calgary, go to Calgary.
In a couple of years, that might be San Jose.
It might be San
The way they're
Jose.
building this team, the way they're already looking good with
100%.
this young core. They revamped the blue line this year. I look at Connor McDavid, especially the last couple of years, and he just looks tired and dejected.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Back-to-back
Especially when
Cup finals and the Olympic gold.
For sure,
He's been
to get
hit
that
hard.
close.
Yes,
for
that
sure.
would suck.
But then
That'd
you
be
see
very
the
tough.
behind-the-scenes stuff in the locker rooms that gets released, and you're like, man, he does not look like he's having a whole lot of fun. When he was playing with Mac in the Olympics, he looked
Yeah.
like he was having some fun.
Well,
I don't know.
during
Who
the
knows
group
if it's going to
stage,
happen?
I don't
but-
think McDavid was having a great time when Jack Hughes scored in overtime.
Probably not.
I don't think he took that stuffy and said, "Hey, Macklin, let's do a selfie over here."
It felt brand
Was
new.
it
though.
Nathan McKinnon who looked at that thing and was like,
And chucked it. He's like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever been
He had
given
no
in my
time
life."
for it. McDavid, that was brand new feeling though. Like looking at him having a great time.
Yeah.
Like he looked like he was 16 again.
well, he looked free, right?
Exactly.
He looked like he was enjoying the game
We're
again.
used to seeing the serious, stoic face of
Yep.
Connor McDavid. And if that's your jam, it's your jam. That's fine. But I was kind of surprised, and I'm always disappointed to hear this brought up about the pressure, whether it be media, whether it be fans. So much of that's in your control. Get off Twitter. Don't look at your Instagram comments.
That's right.
Stay away from it. Approach it with a little bit of love in your heart instead of being adversarial to start. I think a lot of guys are approaching it with their fists already up, expecting it to be a fight. There are different ways to do this, man. And I'm surprised at how much this is being talked about lately. It's like this weird circuit we're on with former pro athletes talking about how making 60 mil isn't all that much. I feel like this just keeps coming up and coming up. And I don't think that a lot of these athletes realize how much of it, not all of it, but how much of it they can control with their approach to it, because it's a lot.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, it's at the risk of getting all philosophical, that applies to almost every walk of life.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay off social media, your view of the world is
Isn't it great?
completely different.
Just put the phone down.
Yeah,
It's
and
amazing.
I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. That I'm not saying I live that lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm online way
Well,
too
we
much.
kind of have to with our job, for sure.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's why
I blame my
that's
job.
why I'm doing it.
Yes.
At midnight, I'm doom scrolling about.
You open
you know,
up, and
what-
it's just
Why I was
compliments.
buying shoes last night online.
yeah,
It's my
exactly.
job.
Like,
It
but
pops up and it says, Brian Hayes, you looked very nice on television.
always positive. I do have the filters on Twitter in particular, only positive interactions. But the reality is, if you want to find a world that's dark, crazy, awful, falling apart, you can find it pretty
sure.
quickly. And the same thing would apply with an athlete walking into any market. And, it has been coming up a lot here. I think in Toronto in particular, it's come up. The Marner thing was so extreme, so polarizing. The fact that he's a local guy, and everyone had a different viewpoint on why it happened, how it happened, who's responsible for it. And that's just a reality. I think you look at the Jays, though, as an example of, if if you're Vladdy, that's internal pressure that's got to be on you.
Yep.
Like, if you're concerned about what Keegan's writing or what Kara and I are talking about, what are you doing? You got to be worried about your own stat line.
Yes.
That's doom scrolling. Like, I don't have a home run at home, dude. You don't need to jump online to figure that out. But for the most part, I think people have been respectful. Like, the criticism has been 100% warranted and fair, but no one's crossing a line with Vladdy Guerrero that I'm aware of.
And there's a line where it's just fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember even when I started on the beat 10 years ago, you'd walk in the next day and in the clubhouse, there would be printouts of everything that had been written. And some days that would be like, oh, dear, I really went at a guy. You don't see that as much anymore, but guys are much more on social. They see what you say. They see clips from this. But the reason I always feel secure in that is that if I write a story that player X is playing terribly and getting beat to death by left-handed pitching and they have a problem with it, I will look at them in the clubhouse and say, I wrote that because you're playing bad and you're getting beat to death by left-handed pitching. It's what I think. I'm not BSing you here, okay? But if I write a story saying, you're an idiot, I don't like your body language, blah, 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 that's over a line. And I don't see that line being crossed all that often by legitimate media, which is a shrinking group and a strange definition these days. You see that on social, which I think
Yes.
is something you can more control.
Yes. No. Well, that's the thing. Like, social media, it is it is what it is. And if you're on it, like it's going to, again, you can find whatever you choose to find. And people can find you and connect with you. And yeah.
But Vladdy doesn't seem, I mean, you know Vladdy a heck of a lot better. I've never met Vladdy in person. He doesn't strike me as a person that noise bothers him. He strikes me as a guy who wants the pressure because he wants to be the guy. He wants to be carrying the team. And so he's holding himself more accountable than anyone else is going to. Like, what probably bothers him right now is that he's crap. And that bothers him, not what everyone else is saying about him, but that he's not performing very well. But he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy, maybe I'm wrong, that really cares if the media or other people are saying you're having a crap season, because he's like, yeah, I am having a crap season, and that's on me.
It's probably true to an extent. I think, in the end, you're still going to feel it. You'd prefer positive feedback, but if you
everybody does.
But if you don't supply, the stat line, you're not going to get it.
I don't think he's going home at night and worrying about it, though.
No.
Like, worrying about what people are saying about him. He's worrying about, okay, how do I get out of this slump?
I would hope so. I think every great athlete, that it has to be internal. I mean, and that's the thing with, like, you talk about McDavid. He understands his legacy. He's well aware of it. He's the best player of this generation. Some people would suggest he's the greatest player to ever play.
Yep.
Like, that is a heavy crown to wear. Like, that's how great he is. And I hope he wins in Edmonton. Like, I want to see that story be complete, because he's been, I've been lucky enough to cover him and talk about him and watch him play, and he's a blast to watch play. I'm rooting for the guy. I'm rooting for the Oilers to do
I don't
well.
think there's any Canadians who aren't rooting for Connor McDavid to win a cup.
Totally. I mean, short of maybe Flames fans, or Canucks fans.
That's the best story.
Yeah, but 100%. It would be totally like finish the story, close the loop, and then go and do whatever you want to do, whether it's stay in Edmonton your whole career or you want to go somewhere else, by all means. But it's got to weigh on you when you realize you're in a very exclusive group of all-time great players, and you're the only one that hasn't won. Like, if he is already a top 6, 7, 8, 10 player of all time, literally every guy in there has won. And I'm pretty sure everyone you would put on that list has won 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It's not just one time. And I know it's different now. There's 32 teams. There's a hard salary cap. It's a different world than it was for Gordie Howe and Bobby Orr, clearly, or even for Lemieux and Gretzky. But Sid played in a 30-team league, and Sid's got 3.
Yep.
And that's kind of your counterpart. And Sid got his golden goal, and he's got his 2 gold medals. And that kind of stuff's just got to weigh on you.
It would be devastating if Connor finished his career and wasn't able to get a cup.
Yes.
Considering how they've come close.
Right.
How close they've come, like almost. To be able to be talked about when he's done as the greatest player potentially to have ever played the game, but never won.
Yes. And now you look at, again, with Celebrini in the news today, San Jose is building, but now the pressure is going to pick up, like, after next year. It's going to be on you this year. Like, they bottomed out. They've been a bad team for a while, but you got the golden goose. You bottomed out, you got the first overall pick, and you hit a grand slam. Macklin Celebrini is exactly who you'd want. He might have more value than anybody else in the league in terms of starting a franchise today, because he's 20 years old, right? I'm not saying he's better than McDavid in a game tonight, but Connor's 30. He's 20. But if Macklin gets this going and San Jose gets it going and he starts pushing for cups or pushing for whatever, then, that's the rightful kind of process. That's the way it's supposed to go. Every 10 years, there's another guy that's going to kind of come in.
The fun part ends pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's not that exciting to have 45 and 70 anymore if you're missing the playoffs.
Got to make the playoffs.
You've got to, and that's why it's so frustrating to watch this happen to McDavid, because you reach that level where you're one of the 5 or 10 best in your sport, whatever it is. And especially in the NHL, I'd make the same argument for the NFL or even Major League Baseball. To a certain extent, I can't hang it all on you. I can't just say that Connor McDavid cannot win a Stanley Cup. There's a certain element of this where it's the team surrounding you. It's what the Oilers are doing with the extra money he's left to fill out the rest of the roster, which hasn't always been good enough. You can't lay that on the guy, and I admire someone who sticks it out in one place, but I will never, ever, ever hold it against a guy for chasing one, man, because especially once you start getting past the middle of your career, these things do not last forever, and windows do not.
Chasing one, yes. Like the guys who get to the twilights of their career and they're still looking for that one, yes. But when you look at someone like LeBron, who has championships, that to me is bordering on tainting your legacy. To now take as little money and run to Philly for a year to try and get one more chip when you already got him. Like, I don't know. It kind of gave me a little ick.
I look at that differently. If his history was different, this actually makes sense at his age. Like, of course he's going to go to a team that's decent or just retire. Like, if you want to play, and LA's not an option, I would guess deep down LeBron probably never wanted to leave the Lakers. But with everything that happened last year, he opted in. They weren't going to – they wanted him – they were done with the LeBron era. It's the Luka era now. I guess the Austin Reeves era. They're going to figure out what else they do into the future. So they were going to move off LeBron. But at 41, this is the time actually to say other guys have to do the heavy lifting. Like, to look at Maxey and look at Jaylen Brown and maybe Embiid and say, I'm just going to be a part of it. It actually makes sense now. Why I understand where you're coming from is that he did it with Miami. He did it when he got to Cleveland and said, all right, we got Kyrie.
It's not the only time he's done this.
When they got to LA, he's like, we got to have AD, go get him. That's his career. That's what he has done. But it actually makes sense now if you're going to play to be on a competitive team. And he did join a team that hasn't won anything in 40-plus years.
I just find myself rooting against Philly now.
If he joined San Antonio or Oklahoma City, it would be
that's a little egregious.
Dude, that's insane what you're doing now. Like, if he jumped on San Antonio and said, I'll play for the league min, which he could have done, I guess, if they wanted him to. That would have been a bridge too far, I think, for me, even though I'm saying what I'm saying right now. Philly does not have a long history of being known as a winning franchise.
But he also has no ties to Philly. I guess it would have made more sense to me. Cleveland is very competitive. He could have gone home and put a bow on it, and it would have made a little more sense to me. Like, it would have...
James Harden, man, I don't think he wanted anything
that's fair.
I don't think he wanted anything to do with the beard.
It's easy to hate, though. Like, they are a hater.
It is easy to hate, but I find myself cheering against Philly to win. Like, I don't really want them to win now.
I know. I'm with you. And especially, I mean, they're in the Raptors division. And I'm not rooting
suddenly
for
the
Philly
East got hard.
Yeah, I got no interest in seeing Joel Embiid stumble into a championship.
The fit is weird, too. Like, the only motivation, and I think this is why people get that feeling, is that the only motivation is a championship.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the cleanest fit whatsoever.
Well, he's not even going to live in Philly. Like, he's going to copter in or whatever. Like,
in New York.
I don't know.
But the basketball fit, this feels like a Sixers team that will be really messy for a few months and then maybe pull it together in round one of the playoffs. But how these pieces all fit together, I mean, my Lord, someone needs to sacrifice. Somebody needs to be Kevin Love from the Cleveland days.
Well, and I think it's LeBron. I mean, and I think at
his
age, he's probably accepting of that. He's going to play 60 games, if that, and try to be ready for the playoffs. But let's say they do win. What does that work? Like, I don't think that takes away from his legacy. Like, if he gets another one at 41, I think in the moment we're actually going to have to. You're going to have to give him some love because if he contributes to it. Like, if he's injured and it's everyone else doing the heavy lifting, but let's say he's playing. Let's say in the NBA Finals against San Antonio, LeBron goes off and, personally contributes to a couple of wins, shuts down Wemby in some moment. That's worth something. Like, that's not going to be deleted from his Hall of Fame highlight reel.
I just don't love it. There's something, and I know this is the way the NBA is, and this is largely the way the NBA is. There's just something still about a team, and you don't get the homegrown team very often anymore. And you're right, it could have been worse. He could have gone to, like, the Spurs or OKC or something, but there's just something a little dirty about it that just, not dirty, that's the wrong word, makes me feel dirty.
But the second he went to Miami, he lost every 100%. Right
that was the first hit
guy.
On the legacy for me, for sure. He came back to Cleveland, and the PR was a little better. And, and that was great. LA, I didn't love either. And this is just one more nail in the coffin for me of, I don't know, what are you trying to leave the game with? Well, what are you really?
He's the modern NBA, and it feels like he is the superstar who should have such a gravitational pull that he can stand still with his arms out and players will come to him. But he's been chasing for quite a while.
Sure.
Maybe that feels a little out of sync.
And I guess in the back of my head, I'm always comparing him to MJ. And I know they're completely different eras, and we need to stop comparing, except when someone says LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time, it irks me. Like, just the way there's so many reasons the way he's conducted himself, the way he's done things, the way he's chasing things. He's just a different player, the way he takes off defensive possessions now. And I get he's saving his body, but there's just a whole list of things. It's like, don't even put him in the conversation with MJ for me.
Well, he can be exhausting, LeBron.
Yes.
Like, that's at the brunt of it. It can be exhausting.
Did he really need to hold the entire sporting world captive for 3 weeks and wait till after the World Cup was done to announce that he's taking the veteran minimum to go to fit? Like, I'm exhausted by it all.
That's my take on LeBron. Just, we get it.
It can be exhausting. I get it. I understand it. But he's still playing, and when he's gone, there's going to be an emptiness to the NBA. There isn't a successor to him.
Not yet, no.
Yeah, like maybe Wemby, but I don't know, and Shea,
but
not to the same extent, not to the same like gravity of a guy.
Well,
like
and LeBron is almost welcomed that because of his personality. Like someone like Shea is never going to want to be as in the spotlight as LeBron. Like the NBA has had a gift with LeBron wanting to be as front and center.
Oh, he's a
as he has
machine
been
for 20 years. There's nothing like him. Like there's nothing like him.
Like before, too much content was pushed through your TV every single day. LeBron got it. Man,
well, and at the same time, he claims that gets used against him. In terms of his legacy, that he's had to deal with so much, even though a lot of it is self-created. All right, Mike Johnson coming up. Dan Patrick will join us. A little role play coming up later this afternoon as well. Kara's in here. Keegan's in here. I'm Brian Hayes. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live.
Lions, Blue Bombers, Thursday on TSN.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Don't sweat the technique. Don't sweat the technique.
All right, OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you more ways to play your game your way. You guys seen the new uniforms, the Bills, recently?
No, I haven't seen
revealed?
these. I saw people were talking about them because Josh Allen felt the need to tell people to simmer down.
Yeah, so I have a great appreciation for this from Josh Allen, and I am admittedly a super fan of Josh Allen. Love watching him play. There's so many great quarterbacks in the NFL, and Allen is one of them, clearly. But again, I got a soft spot for Buffalo. You want to see the Bills do well. They got the new stadium coming up. And we just had this conversation about players chasing and leaving. And, you know, Allen's not far off that at some point. Like, if the Bills can't find a way to make this work, is Joe Brady the right guy? I don't know. DJ Moore capable of being
A number one guy?
number one wide receiver? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. You know, so there's pressure on him. There's pressure on the organization. And I would guess, like, within the organization, there would be that sentiment. They're opening up the new stadium. You got Josh Allen in your prime. You got to win here over the next few years. Got to make it right for him. And yet he seems to have been, like, so bought into the Bills. And why don't we play this clip? Because he was, at the end of his press conference, you know, he mentioned the new unis. And I think we can probably post a pic of them. They're admittedly not great.
I'm looking at them now.
Yeah.
They look like the Lions.
Yeah, they kind of look like the
look
Lions'
like their alternates,
jerseys.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're not great. Like they're taking, I think, reasonable criticism. But this is how Allen kind of stepped in and tried to use this as a motivating, you know, factor, and also kind of stood up for some people that obviously put their neck out for these new uniforms. Here's Josh Allen earlier today.
And stop hating on the jerseys, guys. I don't know if you guys are hating. I don't know. I don't see anything, but they're great. I honestly like. Speaking of new, right? It's a new look. It is. I understand that, but we gotta be new, and I think these jerseys kind of are symbolic of that. And I'm excited to wear them. I really. We had a lot of people that put in a lot of hard work for these jerseys, and it symbolizes a lot of newness, and that I am excited about.
Do you like it better than last year's all white, which I thought was pretty good?
We didn't win in the all white, so absolutely.
All right.
He's
There you
good.
go.
So he just wants something new to hopefully get some wins. It's
Yeah.
a little
But
superstitious.
I like, it's corny, but I like that he stepped up for someone in the background that, you know, basically had created these and went with them. And that's who he's standing up for. That's the quarterback. That's the most powerful guy in the organization who could have been like, could have goofed on them, could have said, I'm not talking about it.
Or if it's my quarterback, don't even talk about the jerseys. Worry about football.
Yeah.
To me, I'm
I mean,
like, why
it
are
is-
you worrying about the jerseys?
It is July. I mean, to be
Sure.
fair to Josh Allen,
These
it's
are
July.
awful.
They're not great.
You know what? The helmet just isn't great.
No.
Like the helmet's got kind of a weird, like,
It's got a
Wolverine vibe.
and it's got kind of a Patriots vibe to it a little bit. I
Yeah.
don't know. There's not much about this I like.
A lot of new jerseys are so overthought because everything that happens is the production of 900 people having 45 marketing meetings.
Yes.
In these pro organizations. And I think that new jerseys should typically be made maybe with a dash of history and a few people saying what looks good. Instead of, I think every new jersey that we see in any pro sport is the stitching on the right shoulder is inspired by the pulse of the. No, it's not. Yeah, I know. Please
Yes.
stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. But man, credit to Josh Allen. There's some people in the Bills marketing or activations
that
department.
must love him.
Hero.
Like, thank
Yes.
you, because
That's a
people are
face.
hammering him, and he knows they are, and that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, you know, it's the low talker. Kramer's dating the low talker. He's got the puffy shirt, and Kramer's, you know, he's playing the role of Kramer here. He's like, hey, it's a great looking uniform.
And it
He
kind
may
of
not
feels like
believe
he's
that.
grasping at. Like I think
He's
he would have
trying.
said that about regardless of what any jersey looked like.
Yes.
He's grasping at the fact that it's something new
Yes.
and he's ready for something new. And so let's move on. He's being a little superstitious
Well,
with jerseys.
and you know, they've got the new stadium this year,
Yeah.
which I am very curious to see. You know what it looks like.
have you seen
how
the
it
massive
feels.
broken table
I
that's
have
inside?
not.
You haven't seen this?
No, I have not seen.
They
that.
have this massive structure. People are asking if it actually breaks, but it looks like a huge broken table as like an installation, some kind of art installation inside the stadium. I mean, it's pretty cool
I like how they've just embraced that type
that
of
they're
hooliganism.
just a wild fan base. Yeah.
That's how we operate down here. People jumping through tables. But
It's going to be the
Yeah.
fan base that doesn't cut off alcohol consumption at a certain point in the game.
won't do it.
It'll just keep going. There'll be no limit.
But new stadium, new head coach, and he's right. Like they need to get it done here. It's not about chasing the AFC East or getting into the playoffs. I think they feel pretty good about that. It's about actually winning a Super Bowl. If you can do them in those jerseys, go for it. Right? Wear them.
Doesn't last forever, man. Josh Allen's 30, and the way that he plays,
Yep.
he's not playing that way
yes.
until he's 40. I promise.
You got a window here. It's probably still 3, 4, 5 years, but there's a window, and they got to get it right for sure. Speaking of 5 years, Macklin Celebrini's got a new 5-year deal. We have a new highest paid guy in the NHL, Mike Johnson, coming up on that and more. Dan Patrick still to come. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live. role play level of concern coming up a little bit later this afternoon. The Jays got themselves a win. That's a series win down in Washington. They're off tomorrow, back home on Friday. Trade deadline rapidly approaching. We're getting video of Gavin McKenna walking on the ice in his jersey. Are you excited, Kara?
I just...
You know it's coming. You cannot have enough Gavin McKenna.
Oh, my gosh.
Content right
I'm
now.
not ready for the fall to happen and how it's going to just take... And like, listen, I'm not crapping on the Leafs and Gavin McKenna... I love
First
that there's
overall
something
pick.
for Leaf fans to be excited about. I
Thank you.
love that for them.
Thank you.
It's just, what other market are we like going so over the top to like, McKenna steps on the ice for the first time in the blue? Like, oh.
And there's someone out there analyzing it.
Yeah.
Too. Oh,
Yeah.
Look at
Did he
that
step
turn.
right foot first or left foot first
We
on
have
the
a
ice?
guy
I
on the
don't
line
know.
that's doing it, that just
Wow.
did it.
I love it.
MJ just spent the last 5 minutes analyzing him stepping on the ice. Here he is, Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst. Are you excited for McKenna Mania or what, Johnny?
Sure. Gives us something to be excited about. Why not? I mean, give me something to cling to if you're a Leaf fan. And to be fair, I think I just saw this very same thing when Patrick Kane stepped back on the ice in Chicago for the first time for his first little twirl. So maybe first overall picks when they go on the ice for the first time with their team or returning to a team, we get a visual of it. But it's going to be hyper analysis, which is interesting because the Leafs are a bit unique in that most teams that get the first overall pick, they're awful and they don't have any good players. Gavin McKenna is going to be, I don't know, third, fourth, fifth, sixth best forward on the team next year. So it's a different dynamic for him that he gets to walk into being just a player as opposed to the singular focus. We'll focus on him, but as far as actually production and playing, he's just going to be, one of the guys.
Well, it's an interesting, forecast. If he is the third best forward next year, let's say, do you think that's a good sign or a bad sign for the team? You know what I'm saying? Like wins and losses. It's probably better for wins and losses. I think if he's like the sixth or seventh, that doesn't mean he has a bad year, but that means the other guys had a really good year.
You'd like to see Matthew Nyes for sure, John Tavares hang in there for another year, and, maybe Easton Cowan push him to be about the same. Mm-hmm. That would be good for the Leafs. If he's the clear-cut third, even if he has a great rookie season, 65, 70 points, if he's clear-cut third behind Matthews and Nylander, that probably doesn't bode well for the team and their overall success. I think that would be fair to say. You're correct.
MJ, considering like how wild it was the way the Leaf season went last year and everything was just on a complete downward spiral, this might have been one of the biggest turnarounds I've seen as far as hope for a fan base. Like all the changes they've made, and who knows if many of these changes are going to pan out. What is your level of optimism overall for this Leafs team next season?
Well, it's got to be higher because even if they did nothing, Wags, like nothing at all, return the same players with the same coach and the same management, they would have been 10, 15 points better because that's how bad last year was.
That's fair.
And so just the fact that you're going to count on the return to form bump in some capacity, plus you mix in the new coach, plus the new GM, Matt Sundin back in the fray, a whole bunch of new players. They got a Hall of Fame goaltender. If Bobrovsky and Stolar stay healthy, can they be one of the better tandems in the league? We saw 2 years ago with good goaltending what can happen. They're going to be so much better regardless, but there's also room for them to be, certainly a playoff team or maybe even like a mid-range playoff team if it all works out well. I kind of trust in the goaltending. I sort of believe in the top six forwards still. I have no idea, Hazy. I'm not sure if you looked at the lineup, like what they're going to do with all those bodies and how it's going to make sense. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to come together, but if it works, they're going to be way better. Even if it doesn't work, they're just going to be a little bit better. So that's a good place to be if you're a fan.
Mike, we've been talking a lot through the show today about the newly and highly paid Macklin Celebrini. I love where these contracts are going in hockey right now. I love the power that players seem to be having and these salaries being driven up. And, of course, the question goes to what's next when you look at Makar and Hughes and Kucherov. When you look at some of the next big deals coming up, do you expect to see a lot of this momentum continue? And what's the buzz like around the league among players, too, when you see these numbers?
I mean, the players are delighted. We went for, 15 years? From the 03 before the lockout until 18 before someone made more than $11-12 million again. That's what guys were making. That's what Doug Waite was making in 2003. Mm-hmm. That's what Connor McDavid made in whatever, 10 years ago. So it's taken a long time to get here. Although I will say this about Macklin, who deserves every cent. A couple things stand out. One, he alluded to the fact that he would be taking less or be willing to take less to help his team. Don't feel like he left a whole lot on the table in this one, nor should he. But okay, that's good. And also this idea, and I think every young player is going to do this, and sort of following the lead that Austin Matthews set by going shorter term. Not specifically to get more money, but to get more flexibility. Because Bedard, Leo Carlsson offer sheet, Celebrini, you sign 5 years, you turn UFA at 26, and yeah, you can go get more money if there's more money out there. But more importantly, I think for players, you can pick whatever team you want to go to depending on how your team currently is doing. So I think it's all heading in the right direction. I am curious. I don't think he'll be the highest pay. Actually, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Makar going to take it over Celebrini? I don't think he will. I think the downward drag of McKinnon's contract would make it more difficult for Makar to walk and say, of course he deserves 22, but he's not going to get it because McKinnon makes 13. And I think Makar, I don't know, it'd be weird to walk in there. Makar can probably say, I'll get paid whatever Hughes gets paid, which is going to be 17, maybe, something like that, and maybe a bit more. But, yeah, I think those guys will sign, but I don't think anyone's getting the max yet, guys, until Connor McDavid, if he re-signs at Edmonton ever after this contract, he will have every right to take 20% of the salary cap every year until he retires.
100%. 100%. See, as you brought up Connor McDavid, and I'm getting crapped all over online for saying that McDavid might just choose to go to San Jose in a couple of years. Looking at how San Jose has revamped their blue line, they've locked up Macklin. How attractive is San Jose if you're a superstar to go and land in that spot?
Well, I mean, I think the attraction is Celebrini. It is the market. It is the lifestyle. It is the area of the world that's in. Wags, I'm not sure that, the defensemen, whether it's Darnell Nurse, Jacob Trouba, those are not guys that I would look at as a player and say, they got those two. Sign me up for a cup run. They're not there with those guys, but they do have lots of talent, lots of money, and whether it's Matthews or McDavid or any sort of superstar player that could pair up with Celebrini, that would be a really nice transitional partner if you're going to go from being, in your 30s to your mid to late 30s where you're still good but maybe not the best in the league. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things to be bullish about in San Jose. They're not there yet, but Celebrini is such a massive start. The same way guys want to come play with McDavid. The same way guys want to come play with Matthews. The top players draw other top players, and Celebrini getting paid and has already played like a top player with the presumption that he will continue to get better, which is a scary thought because he's already one of the best in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And these deals, all of them unique in their own. Leo Carlsson, the most unique one because it was an offer sheet that eventually was matched. But it just highlights how lucky Edmonton is that McDavid just continued his $12.5 million cap hit. It's just a wild move that he said, just tack on. Basically, he made it a 10-year deal out of entry level, which is something he did not have to do. And by the second year, which is next year, when Celebrini's deal kicks in, Celebrini is going to be making more than $6 million than him. Mm-hmm. And it should put more pressure on Edmonton to obviously spend appropriately, get the job done, make sure they can win. But what will add insult to injury is if San Jose blows past Edmonton in a year or two, and he's looking at Celebrini, and Celebrini's making that much more money, because I do think that's possible.
Yeah, could happen.
I don't think this year. I agree with your assessment, Johnny. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, how Nurse and Trouba and them kind of fit in the growth of that team. I think Edmonton's still better today. I'm not certain they will be a year from now.
No, I mean, think about Stenberg and Misa and Dickinson and Lynn. They got a lot of good young players. They still are very young. But you're so right. I mean, by the time next year starts, McDavid's last year of his contract, he won't be a top 10 highest paid player in the league. He might not be a top 20 highest paid player in the league, which is insane and speaks to the volume of the discount. And it's not like it's a deal from 8 years ago. This deal signed a year ago only. It was not that long ago that he baked in this, and he knew McDavid knew where the cap was going. He knew what he was leaving on the table, and he still did it willingly. So, which is why you go back to whatever Connor McDavid decides to do. Stay, re-sign for 1 year, re-sign for 7 years, go somewhere else. Nobody in the organization, the city, the province can say anything to McDavid ever than say, thank you, good luck, because he's given them all that anyone could ever be asked to give any organization.
Yeah. And
100% agree.
Yeah, and
you can't discredit him for anything. He's done everything he could.
He's been phenomenal.
Everything and then more.
Yep, he's been phenomenal. He's been so good. All right, Johnny, what are you still bracing for here? Like Morgan Riley? I keep waiting every day coming in here looking for that email to pop up. Morgan Riley's been traded somewhere. I'm not convinced it's going to happen now. Where do you stand on that?
The longer it takes, the less likely it feels, right, Hayes? Like it's just like, teams get closer to camp. They start falling in love with their own depth charts and wanting to give their own young guys an opportunity. Or we have a guy who's a 5. Maybe he can sort of do that. Let's find out before we go take on a different player, a different contract. What we got to do, Hazy, is like you got to scour the league for a Morgan Riley-like player. Where it's like maybe I take a contract back of a guy who's making $5-6 million that they don't love, and sort of swap issue for issue. Mm-hmm. They're still players, but you mean just a change of scenery kind of thing? It feels more likely it's going to go that way than a team saying, we'll give you a 4th rounder for him because we just want the player and we want to add him without subtracting anything. I am sort of curious about how that's all going to shake out. There's not many more players out there to kind of pay attention. Patrick Laine sort of fascinates me just because he's Patrick Laine. I was reading maybe the Islanders had a little bit of interest, but beyond that, and then, of course, I am mildly curious, Hazy. Mm-hmm. Marchenko get moved out of Columbus?
I don't know.
And what happens to Adam Fantilli isn't signed.
Yes, he's still waiting.
And so Fantilli's you look at Fantilli's stats and Leo Carlson's, they're almost identical through their first 2 years.
$18 million.
Interesting.
Well, that's what Fantilli's saying, and that's not what Columbus is saying.
No, they're not.
We'll see what happens there. But I am sort of like honing in on Columbus because Marchenko is a sneaky great player. And if you're Montreal, who are rumored to be interested in him, everyone's interested in him, but maybe Montreal could actually do the deal. Like, he's a game-changing kind of player. He's that talented. We don't know about him because it's Columbus, but so maybe I'll be paying attention to Ohio for a little bit to see what happens before camp.
I like that. Yeah, I think you're onto something there with Riley. It's kind of like the Milan Lucic for James Neal deal.
There you go.
Back in the day.
But better players. Like, they're not at that point just yet, but that's the theme you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. All right, Johnny, thanks for doing this, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
You got it. There's Mike Johnson joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. It's time to Toyota. Check out the Toyota Tacoma and Toyota Tundra pickup trucks, both available as hybrids. Maple Toyota near Canada's Wonderland of the Maple Auto Mall. Don Mattingly and Bryce Harper, not directly going at it, but kind of indirectly having commentary. Well, Harper made a comment and Mattingly came back, I would say, very strong.
Publicly disagreeing.
Yes.
And saying a lot of guys want to play GM when you're talking about Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Like, man, that ain't nothing.
We'll play those clips in
I haven't
the
heard
next
this.
hour.
Looking forward to this. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. And Dan Patrick coming up. Role play as well. OverDrive continues up on TSN 4.
know the legacy of Bernie Lays. I know what it means to other people.
I've only been scared on one set.
This is the Tom Green Farm.
Can the Blue Bombers fight off the Lions as they try to claw their way up the standings?
The big boy is ready to rumble.
BC, Winnipeg, Thursday on TSN. CFL lives here.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel. Brian Hayes, Keegan Matheson, Kara Wagland. We got Dan Patrick calling in here in a few moments. Little role play later in the hour. Role play level of concern later in the hour, which is always fun. We haven't done that in a while. Best bet still to come. Jays with a win today, so they got themselves a series win down in Washington. That's big.
Huge.
Right? That's big for, I think, diplomacy, right? I think everyone's going to be happy on that.
I'm growing nervous of the fake wild card comeback.
Yeah. Like, what are they, 5 games back now? Could happen.
Yeah. Well, they get red hot this weekend. You never know. You know, they're a series sweep away from being back in the hunt. But the trade deadline is on Monday. So that'll come and go, and we'll have, I guess, some sort of an answer on the direction this team is going to go in terms of the front office and the messaging they're going to send. But as of now, no Blue Jay has stepped out to the media and said, hey, we got to go and get active here. We got to improve this team, even though they're probably all thinking it. But I don't think any of them are dumb enough to step in and actually say, hey, we got to be buyers here. We got to get back in the hunt. You know,
not at this point in the season, no.
I don't think that's coming. I mean, we've been down that road before. Bautista famously had a couple of deadlines where he was very outspoken.
Well, I mean, the Tigers are only 1 game up on the Jays, and Tarek Skubal was like, well, we could make a run. I could stay here.
Yeah.
Like,
I
could you? Really?
I don't know. I mean, Detroit's been pretty disappointing this year. Yet their run differential, they got a plus run differential in Detroit, which is bizarre. They're plus 38, their run differential, and yet they're 51 and 58. But the Phillies, they had a horrendous start to their season, and then they fired their manager, and they hired Don Mattingly, who was there already on the bench staff. And they're currently 5 games over 500. They're chasing Atlanta. I mean, anything can happen. The NL East is always weird. There's always turnover there. But
they're in a wild card.
They're in a wild card spot right now. And Bryce Harper's been there for a while. They've been a good team for a while. They've generally spent money. And we got back-to-back clips here. Harper on the trade deadline, and then his manager, Don Mattingly, responding to Harper on the trade deadline.
Some help, you know. But, you know, I think we've proved, you know, pretty much all year we've done a pretty good job. But, you know, anytime you can, you know, get some help in here and reinforcements, I think it helps.
Bryce said last night after the game he thinks that the team needs a little bit of help at the deadline. Do you sense maybe guys thinking about that, or might that be on guys' minds, like as the deadline gets closer?
I sense Bryce thinking about it. I don't really sense anybody else thinking about it, honestly. And you've been through this. Guys want to be GMs, what you need, without a real understanding of where the organization is, exactly where this thing goes, not only this year, but moving forward. So, again, players like being GMs and making calls and spending other people's money. So, let's let it go at that. I mean, they've been doing this a while. He's never really backed away from trying to get guys. We're trying to get better. You know, we're going to try to get better at the deadline, so leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that.
It kind of strikes me as two guys fighting for the same cause. Why are we like?
Yeah, I mean, there was, I think, a further comment because I don't think he did leave it at that. I think Mattingly maybe kept going, and some of the quotes I've seen online, kind of Mattingly sticking up for the rest of the team and suggesting that if you're saying we need help, then what you're saying is there's someone on this team that's not good enough, which is probably accurate. I mean, ultimately, that's what you're saying. If you're like Harper's not worried about his security, he's going to hit in the lineup where he's going to hit. He's getting paid. He's not going anywhere. But he might be looking at who's, hitting 8th in the lineup, 9th in the lineup, and saying, that guy stinks. That's the improvement I'm looking for. And Mattingly kind of addressed that, which does add a different element to it because that's kind of putting words into Harper's mouth a little bit. Like Harper wasn't that direct with it. But as you pointed out off the air, there's kind of like Mattingly's son is the GM of the Phillies. Now, he mentions Dave, which is Dave Dombrowski.
Unique dynamic.
Very, yes, very unique dynamic that Mattingly maybe is kind of taking this personally a little bit.
More
Donnie
protective
baseball.
than he would be.
A little bit more
think that Bryce Harper's comments are all that wild.
No,
I mean, how many players say that stuff all the time?
And frankly, it looks like he was asked, what do you think this team should do at the deadline? Do you want him to say sell? I don't know. But Don Mattingly is a very serious baseball man. He's a serious guy. And I mean that in a complimentary way. A lot of teams need more serious people in their organization. So I don't think he's going to light up Bryce Harper. He probably walks by him in the clubhouse today with a bat and says, like, hey, GM, and taps him on the chest. That's all it is. But you start to get thrown back against one another. And I also understand what Donnie's saying there. I mean, like, if there's one guy who's known for letting it rip at the deadline, it's Dave Dombrowski.
Yep.
Up at the top of this organization. His whole career back to the Red Sox days. He is a guy who is going to go out, shock the league, take big swings. I think the Phillies line up with the Blue Jays on multiple fronts, and there is interest between those two orgs. Like, I don't think Dave Dombrowski is the guy who you need to give a boot to, man. He's already going.
Yeah. And I would think, like, Mattingly's one of the few guys, maybe the most unique manager in the game, where he's like an all-time great player that can look at Harper as an all-time great player, too, right? And probably and he's I believe he's still the interim manager in Philly. So I don't know if he's worried about his longevity there or anything like that. So he could clash with him and not necessarily concern himself with it, which makes it even more compelling. The idea of Mattingly and Bryce Harper having beef over the trade deadline would be great.
Players like that don't manage anymore because the money's good. But Donnie's been around for a while, coming from his era. Great players like that, they used to manage all the time. They're not going to anymore. Maybe Pujols and Beltran, some of these guys. Yeah. But there's no purpose. So it's normally guys like John Schneider, Charlie Montoyo, minor leaguers. But someone who can go nose to nose, eye to eye with Bryce Harper, there are not many of
I like it. And Donnie Baseball is one of those guys. Absolutely. All right, so trade deadline right around the corner. NFL camps are in action. We've got a lot of big news in the NBA. To chat about it, we're joined now by one of our favorites. You hear him every morning here on TSN Radio. He's the host of the Dan Patrick Show. Back on OverDrive, here is Dan Patrick. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. I'm in mid-season form. I'm ready to go.
Yes, we love hearing that. Are you pro Don Mattingly or pro Bryce Harper when it comes to the Phillies and their trade deadline plans?
Well, I've known Donnie since 1983, so I'm going to lean towards Don Mattingly. But you were bringing up, these old school guys, they want accountability. And here's Bryce Harper, who is cursed out the commissioner in their locker room. So you got kind of two guys who, I don't know if they budge. I think they bang into each other, but you might get mutual respect out of that. Of I'm going to call out your BS, and I'm gonna hold you accountable, and you should be a leader. You're our guy. And maybe he's going to ask that of Donnie, but he'll get that from Mattingly. Knowing Mattingly, he's been around such a long time and gone through the highs and lows that he has a great personality to be a manager.
So sticking with baseball, I saw that, Tisha Thompson is her name. She's, I believe, the executive producer of this new 30 for 30 on Ohtani that's coming out. And I'm curious where you stand on the Ohtani conspiracy theory. Like, where does this one rank for you in terms of the all-time sports conspiracies? Because this is not going to die. It's going to be around forever, regardless of how you feel, whether or not he knew nothing, whether or not he was truly a victim, which I believe he likely was. But where do you stand on, how compelling is the Ohtani gambled sports conspiracy for you?
Well, and I spoke to Tish a couple of days ago about the podcast, and the fact that you're talking to the interpreter and he does 90-minute interview and then calls back the next day and tells her that everything he said was a lie. So there's more to this. I think the problem that bothered me, the NBA has spent 10 months investigating Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers. It felt like the Ohtani interpreter gambling controversy, it felt like they wrapped that up in a week. Mm-hmm. And so I have a little bit of problem. I have a big problem with that. Like, this is your guy. He's with you. Ohtani wasn't married at the time. Like, this guy's with you constantly. You're reading body language if all of a sudden, you've lost $5 million. I mean, unless he has a great poker face. Well, hopefully he didn't play poker either. But it feels like there's something more there. I just don't know if I can let Ohtani off the hook and say, how do you not get, like any update from your bank? Hey, somebody just, withdrew $5 million. I find that hard to believe. Ohtani's made a lot of money, but I would think that the bank would just make sure that you knew that somebody. I got, my bank called me today and said, hey, a fraud alert. And they looked at my penmanship that doesn't match my other checks that I wrote. It was for $16,000, but they called me. So that's just on penmanship, not, hey, somehow $5 million is missing, another $5 million. And when you're betting and losing $40 million,
what a cooler.
I find that hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
I clearly got to change my bank. My bank doesn't call me for anything. Either that or I'm not making nearly enough money for my bank to call me.
No kidding.
Dan, John Morosi is reporting that the Dodgers' interest in Tarek Skubal has increased because they're not sure about Shohei's availability to pitch. Are you in the camp where you think it's better for the game if markets like the Dodgers and the Yankees are in the World Series and competitive, or are you just fatigued on the Dodgers just getting everybody all the time?
Well, the Dodgers didn't do anything wrong. They just took advantage of an opportunity because growing up or covering sports in the Northeast for almost my entire career, the Yankees were the evil empire. Everybody hated the Yankees. And then all of a sudden, the Yankees came back to earth, and then everybody was okay. Suddenly, they weren't the evil empire. The Dodgers have done what they were allowed to do, loopholes, whatever it is. But my biggest problem is I want minimum spending brought up. Pittsburgh's making a profit, and Minnesota's making a profit, and Cincinnati's making a profit. I want to make sure that you're at least spending some of this money, because it'd be easy for me if I'm an owner in Pittsburgh and say, hey, we can't compete. We get high draft picks. We'll send Paul Skeens, somewhere soon. I just don't like that. But I do think that we're headed for a lockout. I don't know if we'll have baseball next year. I just get that feeling because they might look at this and say, if we don't do – and I think baseball's – I think this commissioner's done some good things. I really do. I have a problem with the runner on second base, that kind of nonsense. But I think he's done some positive things. I look at the Dodgers and say they're fun to watch. I grew up in a kind of an environment with sports where there was always that one team you wanted to knock off. I just think it's gotten out of hand where you're going to get Tarek Skubal. And I never thought maybe the Yankees, but, you just don't want that. You want to have a little bit of a surprise. You want to have an underdog story. So I think we're headed for a lockout just because the Dodgers are great at spending money.
Yeah, and I think finding that sweet spot will be a big talking point here coming up in Major League Baseball. It has been one in the NBA with the aprons and how tight the windows are getting for teams, how long you can keep a real dynasty together, if you can have a dynasty whatsoever. Do you think there's a sweet spot in the middle, maybe above where the NBA is, where you can still have the evil empires? Like, I still love when a league has to chase Tom Brady or the whole league has to chase Michael Jordan. but there has to be a sweet spot in there somewhere. And do you think that they can find that?
Well, they've changed the rules with the second apron. Like, they want to have some parity, and we've had 8 different champions in the last 8 years. The NBA has done what it set out to do, to have Oklahoma City, small market, San Antonio, small market. You've given everybody an opportunity. And I think as a commissioner, that's what you would want to convey to your fan base and to your owners. With football, you have that built in because everybody's playing with the same amount of money. Baseball, it's just different. Now, you can go above the cap like the Golden State Warriors did. I mean, they spent money, and I have no problem with that. If my ownership wants to spend money, great. I just want to make sure the disparity is not so wide that it's kind of laughable. You can have the Marlins and then you have the Dodgers, and they both play in the National League, and I just don't. I think the optics are terrible with that. But I want to see these owners spend money who don't normally spend money. The other ones, they're going to spend money because they know their bottom line is a championship.
We're chatting with Dan Patrick, the Dan Patrick Show every morning here on TSN Radio. All right, let's look into the future, Dan. The Philadelphia 76ers win the NBA championship next year. What does that mean for the legacy of LeBron James?
I don't think his legacy changes. And he's damned if he doesn't or he does. If he took the money and went to Golden State, and then people say, "Oh, you got to be like Durant," you're going to go there. If he went back to Cleveland, it would be like, "Oh, so you don't want to be a champion." No, it just whatever he was going to do, it felt like he was going to get criticized. I thought this was obviously the most surprising, but I think he took the biggest chance. He doesn't know Philly. He knew Cleveland. He knew Miami. He could have gone with Steph Curry. The Lakers didn't want him. So, when people are like, Barkley telling me yesterday, he's stacking his teams. Well, he didn't stack the Lakers. They were terrible the last 5 years with Kobe. He went there. Then they got Anthony Davis. So it wasn't stacked. When he went back to Cleveland, well, they were terrible, so they got the number 1 pick and had Kyrie Irving. So he comes back and he brings in Kevin Love. Nobody goes, you're bringing in Kevin Love, you're going to win the title. Miami, he's stacked. I'll grant you that. Philly, on paper, the best team, but the best team doesn't always win. It doesn't usually win when you're throwing together talent like that. I think it's going to take at least half a season for us to, kind of see what is emblematic of how good they're going to be. It happened in Miami. They weren't great out of the gate. It took a while. They lost in the finals to the Mavs. But I think Philly, just the possibilities there are a lot of fun. And I think LeBron these last 2 years playing that role of what do you want me to be each night? Facilitator, scorer, whatever it is, what do you want me to be? He's going to be a point guard for this team. And I think that to me is fascinating of, what's the final chapter going to be like? Maybe I get to 5 titles and I can be like Kobe or Magic. But no matter what he does, even if he wins 6, they're just going to go, yeah, but Mike never did that. Mike didn't have to. No matter what.
Yeah, he can't win that. That's not going to change.
No. But I did have Jim Jackson, former NBA player, Clippers announcer, who said something interesting. He goes, I think in 15 years, this younger audience will look at LeBron more favorably and might look at him as the GOAT over Michael Jordan. Now, I don't agree because Mike is omnipresent. People are still wearing his shoes. He's still around. He put out that documentary, and that was a direct hit to LeBron and his fans. LeBron wins in the bubble. Mike decides that all of that video that they were shooting when he played, now you're going to do a documentary because you want to remind everybody of just how great you were. I don't think LeBron can ever escape that. I think he's resigned to the fact of this is who I am. I think he has the best resume in basketball history, but Mike's the greatest player of all time.
Dan, I'm so curious how this works from a basketball sense. Eventually the season has to start and they have to play actual games. with LeBron and the Sixers. And having him play the point, I think, is fascinating, going back to the championship year in L.A., but how Jaylen Brown and Maxey and Edgecombe and Embiid fit together may not be the smoothest off the top. I agree with you that probably half a season may look clunky for a little bit. By the time they figure this out at the end of the season, round one of the playoffs, if Embiid is healthy, how do you think that looks? And how effective do you think it can be if Nick Nurse can pull this all together?
Well, you do have a championship coach to begin with, and I don't care about Embiid during the regular season as much as I want to know what he's going to be like in April and May. Put him on a minutes restriction. I think it's Maxey's team. You know, kind of like it was Wade's team in Miami, but everybody realized it was LeBron's. Jaylen Brown comes in, and I think he's the tricky part of all of this. They couldn't wait to get him out of Boston. They didn't like him in the locker room. He was a great player. So much so you trade him in the division. I mean, good God, that's a slap in the face. Does he want to get 30 a night and prove that he, is better than Jason Tatum? Maxey and, Edgecombe is a really good player as well. But I think this is where LeBron might do his best work of being that facilitator and mediator, where you're going to have to teach. This is on the job training. And I think that'll be the tricky part. But, I can't have Embiid play back-to-backs and maybe 25 minutes. But LeBron might play the role that Draymond Green played at Golden State, that I'm going to be your point forward here. And hopefully you can get everybody to buy in. Because Dwayne Wade bought in Miami. If D. Wade goes, hey, this is my team, he was smart enough to know I'm going to acquiesce to LeBron. And you get Bosh, and that made it work, but only because D. Wade made it work. I think you've got to get some guys who understand the bigger picture of how about we all get to hold a trophy, not just one person.
Dan, we saw you talking about your retirement today. I just want you to know we're hoping you're going to pull a Brett Favre on us and come back a few times. Is that possible or what?
I don't know. It was one of those moments where a caller said, hey, what if your wife said don't retire? Well, I met her when we both worked at CNN, so she knows the business. And we have honest conversations about it. She said, I just don't know if you're going to be happy not working. And I said, no, I won't be happy. But I also, but I want the show to continue. Get another person in there, give a younger person the opportunity. I didn't want to be Willie Mays in center field with the Mets. Mm-hmm. And I went through some health issues for 12 years that I didn't want to do work anymore. I couldn't physically go and do work anymore. But thankfully I had work as an outlet. And it kind of saved me. But, I've done stem cell treatment in Panama that kind of saved my career. So there's part of me that would love to continue to do it, but I also want to make sure it's in good hands and I pay it forward. I know what it's like to be stuck, and I was stuck at ESPN the last couple of years. I was miserable. I had a great job. I just, I didn't want to be there. It wasn't challenging. It wasn't fun. I didn't like the people who were running it. And, I want to be the boss who can help others, younger people. And so that's a long-winded way of saying I've thought about it, but I don't know. Once I've made up my mind.
Okay.
My wife is listening in the other room, by the way, so I'm sure there's going to be a larger conversation, but it's tough. Like this is what we all strive for. You strive for that familiarity, that friendship, that fun, the challenge. When we started, we were nobody. We were working in my attic. For the first 3 years, I did my show out of my house. But, I love being the underdog and fighting and treating every day like the Super Bowl. And So it's, you can never replicate that in anything. That's why when guys retire and then they go, you know what, this sucks. I want to go back.
That's right.
I'll fight that. I will fight that. But I'm not going to be Sugar Ray Leonard or Favre or Michael Jordan and come back.
Okay.
When I walk out the door, I'm going to walk out the door. But I'm not screaming out the door. But yeah, it's tough.
Okay.
It's tough.
Well,
it's
you got
tough.
time. You still got time. You still got time. We're not pushing you out.
Yes, don't hold me to any of this because who knows? I just might do something stupid.
Okay.
One day, so.
We love hearing that. We love stupid.
We
That's
love stupid
basically
things,
how we
yeah.
operate on a daily basis.
Yeah, I made a career out of it.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys for having me on.
You
so
got
it's
it.
Great. I appreciate the questions.
We'll do it again soon. Thank you, Dan.
All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Dan Patrick of
What a
the
legend.
Dan Patrick Show. Yeah, it's interesting. I think he's called a shot in a couple of years that he's going to retire, but now you can see you never know. Anything's possible. But
It's hard to let go of a really fun job.
it's a
you
great
know?
great
You work
show,
in the toy
great
department.
gig. Yeah, it really is. And there's always more coming. That's the amazing thing is, the idea of like if you stop doing the show and then next week something crazy happens, you're like, man, I'd love to be able to talk about that or dive into that. And we talked about LeBron there. Not that it's ever in question, like the magnitude of LeBron and what he represents, but there has been like crazy stories in the NBA, and his just completely dwarfs all of them. Like Giannis is in Miami, and no one is
No one's talking about it
that.
at all. Nope.
Like the Kawhi stuff. Now, I guess the latest report just came out of ESPN. Doogie sent it that this investigation may go into 2027. If that happens, if I'm the Raptors,
What
I
a
am
mess.
I am like running through the door of Adam Silver and saying, "You got to snap out of it. What the hell are you doing here?" Like, I guess again, I get it. I think the reason it could go into 27 is there's pushback, and then maybe there's.
But how do you make
appeal
that deal if you
processes.
think that there's any chance this could happen?
I don't
How do
know.
you say to BI now, come on back?
You can't.
Come on
That's
back.
the thing. Like, that's pro sports. You get paid. You got to go out and play. But I do not think it's tenable to expect Brandon Ingram to step back into that dressing room
No.
and think that they want him there, or that the fans want him there. Like, that's another thing. This was such a feel-good story. Like, Kawhi's coming back to Toronto. And I think it's imperative. What else are you doing other than figuring this out? I guess that's the way I would phrase it.
And
what else are you doing in July if you're Adam Silver?
What else is
That's a very good point.
Than figuring this story out.
And it
every
puts the
single
Raptors
day.
in a worse spot because this was such a shot in the arm to them. Not only are you going back to what you were, but you're going back to like knowing what you could have been.
Yes.
And now in an even worse place.
This better be rectified.
The mess. This just got so far out of the barn, and it's just such a mess for everyone. Even the language of the reporting from ESPN, like if the parties don't agree on the findings of the settlement or involve,
Of course they're not going to agree.
Come on, of course
That's
not.
the whole idea of coming down with a
who
ruling
gets
after an
suspended and
investigation.
says, you know what, Mr. Silver, you nailed it.
Yeah.
You
Well,
got me.
and-
What are we doing?
Like, the player would be entitled to an appeal process, but I can't imagine, like, the owner can't. Can he? Like, unless
No,
you're going to sue the league if you're Steve Ballmer, but if you're Ballmer, you have to just chew on whatever comes out.
Yes.
That's one big factor, I think. I've heard Brian Windhorst bring this up, that if you are going to go into a legal battle with anyone on the planet, Steve Ballmer's probably at the bottom of the list of who you want. If anyone's going to out-lawyer a league,
sure,
you got to be airtight. And
Yes.
maybe that's a factor, but at a certain point, you can't hold up an organization. 2 franchises are on pause because of this.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and a marquee superstar, future Hall of Fame players right in the middle of it. And
I love that the Vancouver game is not that going to be the Clippers and Raptors?
Is that the plan?
I believe they just announced this, that they have the few different preseason games that they're going to play. And
Like, they're going to Quebec City, I believe, and they're playing
yes, and I
Miami
believe the
Quebec
Vancouver
City.
game, maybe I'm just spouting off on something.
I don't know that.
Is the Clippers and like
That'd be
what a
great.
mess that'll be.
That'd be great. That's good planning. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, if it goes into 27, if you're the Raptors, like, obviously you pulled the deal off the table, right? You're right on that.
Yeah,
Kara.
okay.
Clippers and
I'm very
Raptors
rarely right. It just
in Vancouver
causes
They
pause.
hammered that one, but that just seems completely untenable how you could allow, like, you got to get it right. I understand it. It's significant. It's cap circumvention. It's literally them creating a company and spending money on the side and who's getting that money and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But like Pablo Torre blew this open like 6 months ago or whatever it was.
A while.
Yeah. Like, get going here. Like, this is the thing that it's like CBA negotiations. Why aren't you just in the room knocking this out? What are we waiting for? Best bet still to come later in the hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
You can never, never ask me to stop drinking. Do you understand?
I do. I really do.
One bourbon, one scotch, one beer. Well, I ain't seen
All right, role play level of concern. Very simple stuff. We've only got one each here, so we're not going to overcomplicate this. Okay, where we're all going to be assigned someone, and then a situation comes up. You guys know how to play role play. It's either no concern whatsoever, pine on the patio, or nuclear levels of concern. That would be Nick Cage leaving Las Vegas. Okay, Keegan, you're playing the role of Ross Atkins.
Excellent.
I'm sure you've been waiting to do this for a long time.
Excellent.
You're playing the role of Ross Atkins. What is your level of concern? Shane Bieber's start last night depleted his trade value significantly.
I'm a Rick Bushwood.
Okay.
6 Bush Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
Because if that happened to Kevin Gausman, it would just be a pint in the patio. Because I could point to his last 140 starts in Toronto and say, hey, this is an outlier. He's been very good for a long time. Don't worry about it. Shane Bieber missed last season coming back from Tommy John. This season missed the first half of the season with some kind of leftover rehab from that and fatigue. So it's very much about what have you done lately. And lately, he just walked 6 guys in the first inning. Now, I think that a smart organization will still look at that and say, okay, outlier, Bieber's stuff is back. But they're not going to tell Ross Atkins that. They are going to BS him a little bit and say, ooh, man, it's like buying a car. Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that mileage is a little high, even if it's exactly what you're looking for. You're trying to negotiate, and Shane Bieber just left that wide open for another team's GM to say, what was that?
Yeah.
We're not going to give you what you want.
Yeah. I mean, does he have another start before the trade deadline? I don't believe so, because we're off tomorrow, then 3 on the weekend. So that's it.
That's it.
You know, that's the last time.
I'd be even higher. I'd be Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
that did absolutely nothing for you. Made your life so much worse.
Such a bad start last night. Like, really bizarre
When you
stuff.
talk about timing, it doesn't get any worse.
No.
I mean, my Lord.
Yeah, when Brendan Little's coming in the first inning,
Yes.
you're like, this is really not a
Double
good
barrel
sign.
first inning bullpen with Brendan Little.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Not ideal.
Oh, you won't.
Okay, Kara, you're playing the role of Nick Nurse.
Okay.
Nick Nurse, the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Okay.
What is your level of concern? If you don't get off to a hot start, you're going to lose your job.
Oh, like a 6-pack.
Okay.
I'm pretty low on that.
All
I
right.
think, I mean, Dan Patrick said it beautifully. They're going to be growing pains. And you never know what you're going to get with Joel Embiid. There's going to be injuries are going to happen. You're bringing in 2 massively new faces. You got young guys still progressing. I think it's going to take a minute. And I think that the Philly organization is going to be a little patient.
Yeah.
With Nick Nurse.
Okay.
I think when you look at the different personalities that are out in there, if you think Nick Nurse is really pulling the reins, now that LeBron's there, it's not really happening.
But
I don't know that you can really blame Nick Nurse for much of anything that happens this season.
That is reasonable. Now, I don't believe LeBron he's not in a position today where he would have been years ago, where he could basically get the coach fired if he wanted to. Now, Rich Paul still holds more weight than anybody. And if LeBron calls up and goes, I'm not sure I'm loving what's going on with Nick Nurse, that probably goes up the chain.
Sure.
I'm not saying that that's what you're suggesting. But he was a Daryl Morey guy. It's a different front office. It's a different executive team. Like, Nick Nurse is not working for the people who brought him in there. And they're not going to punt LeBron. It's not going to be his fault. They just went all in on Jaylen Brown. They're going to give him the runway. The only move is if it's ugly is the coach is getting fired.
You know who that reminds me of would be 2023-24 with the Bucks, Adrian Griffin, when they were 30-12, 30-13. Like, it seemed like it was going real well, but certain teams get themselves in that situation where everything else is kind of untouchable.
Someone has to be the sacrificial lamb.
Whether it's their fault or not. Usually it's not, even though we don't want to admit that. Usually it's not.
Yep.
But they're easiest to fire.
That's the reality. And that doesn't mean it's going to happen. And that doesn't mean, Nick, like, I think Nick is pretty confident. Like, Nick's going to be pretty confident. He's going to have a game plan. He's handled crazy scenarios before.
He's got the championship pedigree now.
He's got the pedigree. I think he's a very well-respected guy. But this is all eyes on you.
I'm being told Nick Nurse is a clutch sports guy, so that might help save Nick's job.
That's an interesting detail. Now
That's
he is
interesting.
way down the list of clutch sports
He's
guys.
not. Yeah, he's not on. He's not on Rich
No.
Paul's speed dial or anything.
I
but
would think the guy who he's coaching could probably get
That
to
is interesting.
Rich Paul
I can't
quicker.
believe we're talking about Rich Paul without listing his agency and podcast.
And
No, we were
podcast.
allowed to do that.
Which that is one of the
I'm so
more
tired.
phenomenal
I am so tired.
new age developments in media when Shams Charania tweeted out that LeBron is going to Philly. He listed Rich Paul's podcast.
The podcast
in the
baby.
tweet.
it's a different world we're living
Doesn't
in.
have one. My goodness.
Yeah, that's true. That is valid. All right, I'm playing the role of Matthew Darsh, the GM of the New York Islanders.
Ooh.
What is my level of concern? Matthew Schaefer's contract will blow past Celebrini's cap hit. I'm going to say, I'll go Rick Bushwood because I like the clip. But
6 Bush Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
I think, you know,
Just to hear the clip.
in a way you're hoping for that because that means Schaefer's proven it again
Sure.
next year. Like it's not a bad thing if you have to make him the highest paid player in the league. You're doing that because you think, wow, we have one of the best players and a guy that's likely trending towards being the best defenseman in the league. And based on first impressions, that's exactly what the projection is. Now he's got to follow through on it. But if this time next year they're paying Schaefer 5 years, $20 million, then he did that. That's a very good sign. It's a very good sign. But I'm also, if I'm Darsh today, I'm not convinced that's going to happen because Celebrini has already done it. And Celebrini, like he had an unbelievable year last year, where I'm not sure Schaefer can match that in terms of the equivalent
kind of growth.
defenseman. Yeah, like Celebrini was.
Well,
Was
the
he
position,
third or fourth in points? And
Yeah, the position alone, like you're just not going to.
yeah, exactly. Like, what is Schaefer going to be an 80-point guy next year and play and lead the league in minutes played and drag them right to a playoff spot? I mean, it's possible he was that good this year, but I just I wouldn't be bracing for that. I think it's more likely you get some sophomore slump a little bit or some trials and tribulations. You get a new coach he's got to deal with. You're not living off the same kind of adrenaline of being a rookie. It's what Celebrini did in year 2 is generally the outlier. It's more likely that it's more of just you're steady kind of moving forward. And Schaefer,
high bar, man.
Yeah, it's a very high bar, I guess is what I'm trying
He's
to say.
still so young too,
Yeah.
Matthew Schaefer. Like, there's got to be some growing pains at some point.
Yes, and that's even if there are growing pains, he's still going to have a ton of leverage and they're going to pay him a fortune. But I don't know if it will necessarily blow past the cap hit that Celebrini signed for today at $18.8 million. But again, I don't think that would be something Matthew Darsh would be against because if he does have to pay him that means Schaefer's just continued to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's a real positive if you're a GM, right? All right, good stuff. Role play. I like that.
It.
Yeah, I gotta like.
I love the
role
theme
play.
song, man. Anytime I can hear George Thorogood, my life gets a little bit better.
It's a great song.
What a song!
It's a great song. It's just one of those songs everyone knows.
I tell you what, way back when I was my year out of high school, my buddy had a 1989 pickup he bought for $20, and we stuck it in his garage to fix it up for the entire summer. And in that garage was a cassette player that could not open, and locked inside it was that cassette tape of George Thorogood.
No way.
And did we listen to that song? I tell you.
You'd
and
have
did
to.
we have bourbons, scotches, and beers? What a song.
That should be the new level of concern.
It
in your
should
buddy's
be.
car with the bourbon
Yeah.
and the cassette.
89 pickup truck.
There you go.
An all-time
in the
song.
garage. Yeah, it is a great song. It is. All you need is one of those. Like, easier said than done. But if you're an artist, you get one big, even if you're a one-hit wonder,
Hey.
you made it. Like,
You
you
can
make a
ride
lot
that
of money
forever.
off that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially if it's like an actually great song. Like, there's some one-hit wonders, every decade's got them where, yeah, it's an okay song. I remember that song. But if you get someone that made like a true
They're
classic.
not Thorogoods.
They're not Thorogoods. That's right. And I'm not suggesting he doesn't have more of a catalog. I'm sure he does. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, we're going to get blown up by a Thorogood.
Yeah,
purist.
there's
you know,
some-
people who follow him around like fish.
Right,
you know?
exactly. Yeah, there are deadheads. There's thorough good heads out there, following him around or whatever. I don't know. But, yeah, it is a great song. There you go. Role play level of concern. All right, we'll come back with our best bets powered by FanDuel. Put a cap on a busy afternoon. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on TSN 4.
FedEx Cup playoffs on TSN.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Just keep it safe with me. Anything you say will always stay with me. No matter what it is, it wouldn't make me leave.
All right, TSN 1050 wants you to be our Indy insider at the Ontario Honda dealers Indy at Markham. Experience all the action from the comfort of a trackside suite, pit passes, and access to the Aviva IndyCar paddock to get up close to the teams, cars, and drivers. Today's Overdrive keyword is track. The keyword is track, so you have 10 minutes and 50 seconds to text the word track and your name to 105050. First up, we'll have another keyword for you tomorrow morning, and the more keywords you enter, the better your chances of winning. Full details at tsn1050.ca. All right, there you go. That's a good one. Track. I like that. I don't know who's coming up with these keywords, but
they're on
what
fire.
A week, man.
Does
They're having a
Doogie get
great
free
week.
reign to just come up with whatever word he wants to make you say?
I don't know.
Because
Who's
I would
coming
have a
up
lot
with
more
these?
fun with that, Doogie, if I were you.
Was that you, Doogie, or is there someone higher up the chain? Like, this goes way up the chain at TSN, I would
Throwing
guess.
me under the bus here.
I'm just saying,
not
like,
me.
come up with a better. Like, you have free reign to make Hayes say whatever word you want.
I'm just going to order here.
Okay.
We should have O-Dog at home picking it out each day.
Yeah.
Just email it in.
But
He's
no
looking
one
for
knows it's
something.
O-Dog.
Yeah.
There's no accountability on his end. It'd be great.
What would be the words? That's actually a really good. That's something we should do some week. Is like some O-Dog giveaway where there are words that are associated with him.
Like ketchup. Something like
Ketchup,
that. Okay.
Exactly. Sour keys. You know, there's a number of things I'm sure people could come up with. We could get help from the audience as well on that. But yeah, that's the word you're looking for. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. The Rocket Mortgage down in Detroit. This next year is a regular season for the PGA Tour, and then they're going to move to
And then the
track one,
two-tier
track
goes?
two
Okay.
stuff. And I can't imagine
No.
Detroit and the Rocket Mortgage is going to make it. Feels like a tier 2 type of event. Yet the field this week is a phenomenal field. Ricky Fowler has won it before. I'm going to go deep into the top 20 prop bets. You're getting plus money on Ricky. I got Ricky top 20 at the Rocket Mortgage, paying plus 180. That's my solo bet.
All right.
This is how crazy, winning and, getting your name out is for obvious reasons. Jackson Koiven, who won last week at the 3M. And I think he was like 44-1 or something like that. I think Scully might have picked him.
Come on.
Golf Talk Canada. I think he did.
Wow.
Koiven, with a great field, has the fourth shortest odds. He's 18-1 to win it.
I was going to ask
Really?
about him after we talked about him yesterday.
Yeah.
That's some public money coming in, I think.
Like, I get it, but there's no way he's
not
going
gonna
back to
replicate
back.
that,
Like, there's
no.
no chance. The only,
No.
Cameron Young, Chris Goddard, Xander Schauffele are ahead of him. To put that into perspective, again, Schauffele is not what he was 2 years ago, but Schauffele is Schauffele. Like, he's a great, great player, multiple major winner, lock for the Ryder Cup, President's Cup, and everything. He's 16-1, and Koiven's 18-1.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like Wyndham Clark, Siwoo Kim behind him, Russell Henley, Matsuyama, Cantlay, Spawn, Griffin, Akshay, Bradley, Harris English. Bridgman's had a really good year. All these guys have way, way worse odds to win it than Jackson Koiven, which is crazy. Like, I get he's a phenom and he
For
just
sure.
won't understand
But
that.
I think you're right. It's public money.
Yeah, there's no
Making
way
that
he's going
decision.
back to back. Like, who's
Oh my gosh.
betting him at 18-1? That's an insane bet.
There's no way it's happening.
Somebody must be, or the line would adjust. And maybe it will by, tee off tomorrow. But Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Same game parlays available for every PGA Tour event on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19 plus, physically located in Ontario. All right, Jays with a win today. They're off tomorrow. And then back home on Friday.
TikTok and the deadline, man. This is a weird time of year because
Yeah.
it feels like when I'm in November and December, when I know I'm going to have to work at a weird hour sometime coming up, but I don't quite know when.
Right.
You
Like, anything
hope
can
it's-
happen.
And I'll tell you what, it will be when I, tell my girlfriend, let's go out for a nice dinner. It'll be then. It'll be at 11 p.m. I have written some stories in some wild places over the years, in in a variety of states of mind.
Is that when the phone is a benefit? Like, you're not
It
bringing the
is.
laptop out for a nice dinner.
No. God bless docs. You can hop into a document, but It pops up in weird times, man. I remember a few years back, we were in San Francisco for a series, and I was in the middle of the Alcatraz tour when some Jays news broke. Not even big, but an injury or something. And I'm just sitting on a bench in the Alcatraz prison writing a story on my phone. I remember the 2023 MLB draft. I already had tickets to a concert that night that I could not shake. So I pre-wrote a bit of a story on my phone, and when the Blue Jays drafted Arjun Nimala, I sat down while Beyonce played one more song, and I banged out the rest of the story.
Good man.
You know, it's called professional.
That is professional.
Quite frankly. But you got to be ready when it comes. And thankfully, I behave myself a little more these days.
Yep.
There's not as many nights where I'm handing laptops back and forth at a bar at 11 p.m. saying, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But these are nervous days, I tell
Big
you.
time.
You don't want to take that midday nap because it could happen anytime. But I think it's going to go right down to Monday. Honestly, this is so jammed up right now.
Feels that way. Like, no, it's not like the rest of the league is proactive right now either.
No.
Like, nothing is happening.
It's been quiet.
Yeah, it's
been
kind
so
of bizarre.
quiet. And so they got St. Louis coming up next. St. Louis hasn't been good. Jays win 3 straight.
Ooh.
Then they take a couple from Houston.
Mm-hmm.
How many games in a row would the Jays have to win where you're like, huh?
This is getting a little tight because when I look at where they are now, 5 back, what's the number back they'd need to be in the wild card?
Right.
Well, 3 gets interesting.
Exactly. Yes.
2.5 is undeniably interesting. And this could be one where the Blue Jays half sell and they say, you know what? Screw it. There's some guys that we need to sell. We're going to take back and go out and buy 1 or 2 players. Like Steve Phillips and I were talking about that today on SC. Buy 1 or 2 players back for the future. Maybe you see what happens the rest of this year. Free it up, let it ride, let it rip.
Well, they have 53 games left. You know, history would suggest they need probably 36 more wins to make the wild card. Like, and that's the thing. You do the math. Like, even if they're low, like, is anyone going to have that winning percentage the rest of the year? Maybe a couple teams kind of do that down the stretch. But, like, I got to think. I know where it currently stands, but usually it's 85, 86, 87 wins.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yep.
it's kind of every year it's around the same. Like, maybe this year it's 84. Maybe. But even that, they'd need to win 34, their final 53.
It seems out of hand. But when you look at just 5 games back, there's still a lot of baseball to play.
Okay, look at you.
I don't know. I'm not saying I'm optimistic. I'm just saying. I'm curious.
I got you.
Do the math.
Do the math. Exactly. Thank you, Rick Bushwood. All right, guys. Great stuff. Thanks for doing this. Good seeing both of you, as always. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, up on YouTube Live, streaming soon up on Crave. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.